What's up everybody, it's akathecoot again, and today we are going to be taking a look at the Witch Doctor. I've been playing this guy for probably close to 3 or 4 weeks now, so that's about how long it took me to get him to where he's geared at this point. The leveling process is easy, is a non-factor. If you guys ever need any tips on that, leave a comment below and I'll tell you the easiest way to level up, as long as you got a friend anyways. So jumping right in, the idea behind this Witch Doctor was to get out as many fetishes as I could and basically stand back and use my Firebats as much as I possibly could. So we'll start with the skills real quick. I use Firebats with the Vampire Bats because it's really straightforward. You cast it once and you can keep casting it for free as long as you want. Now the cast cost is a little more than using regular Firebats, but at the same time you can use it forever. So that's a big deal. I could never ever get rid of Piranha Nado with the piranhas, based on the fact that this is like complete crowd control. It sucks everything into it in a very concentrated area, and then you can just blast them with your Firebats. At the moment I use Gargantuan. That's one of the pieces of the puzzle that you can take out if you need to, but I use Restless Giant, excuse me, because he gets really big and hits things really hard. Then I still use the Zombie Dogs, which at some point also could be traded out, but it's really good to have them there because they not only give you health, there's 4 of them, so they tank really well for you, especially before you have some of the gear that I have that makes things a little easier. But once again, I use Leeching Beast because it gives me health when they attack things. I use the Slam Dance Big Bad Voodoo because it gives you a whole bunch of damage, and it's really good when you have a party. If you have a wizard with you and he has Arcane and you use this, it makes things die real fast. Fetish Army is what this whole thing is built around. Well, 1 of 2 pieces, but Fetish Army with Legion of Daggers. It calls out a bunch of little dagger-wielding guys that are hilarious to watch, and they stab the hell out of things. That pairs with Fetish Sycophants, or Sycophants, however you say that, who cares. But it gives you a 10% chance to summon little dagger-wielding fetishes to your side when you hit things. So that works real good with Firebats because, as you can see, you're constantly in a state of casting, so you're constantly in a state of hitting, which means you're constantly in a state of getting those little guys. So, on top of that, just Pierce the Veil, which is pretty straightforward. 20% damage increase. Graven Justice is something that helps you with your survivability and also knocks your cooldown every time you kill something. And at the moment, I like to have 1 additional Zombie Dog because, like I said, I was in a state where I really needed the extra protection. So, jumping into the gear you're going to need, and keep in mind I've tested this up to Torment 5. So I haven't been in Torment 6 alone, but I don't think it would be a huge problem in Torment 6 as long as I was a little more patient. Keeping in mind that, I do die in Torment 5. I don't make these videos saying that I'm completely, unbeatable in any of the Torment levels, but Torment 3 is a joke, Torment 4 is, a run, Torment 5 is the max where I feel completely comfortable. But anyways, my helm, I have the Zunimasa's helm with 2 other pieces of that. So I got the full set, which makes your Fetish Army last until they die. So instead of these guys dying after a little bit, these guys are going to stay alive forever or until they die. And they're pretty beefy, so you don't have to worry about them dying right away. But it also gives me some extra resistance and, the intelligence boost in the beginning, so it makes up for having a lack of damage other places. I also have Firebats rolled on it because I really wanted to concentrate around having Firebats. The most useless piece I have on this guy is a Haunted Faxo. Now, this thing is great, and it does have 20% fire damage, which is awesome, but the only problem is I don't have any moves that can stun anything, so I don't ever get to call out the awesome shadow clones that usually do quite a bit of damage. But either way, the fire damage helps out with the Firebat, so I couldn't find a reason to get rid of it. If you watched my first video on the Demon Hunter, you'll know that I'm a big fan of Augilds. As long as you have your Ring of Royal Grandeur, which is the backbone to every build that I've seen that isn't just a full-on, like Zunimasa's build, which I don't even think would be that great. But you need one of these, and the way to get this is Act 1 caches. It's the only way to get it that I know of, so you got to farm those for it. I got lucky, and as you can see, this has dexterity on it. So basically, this just travels between my characters, and it sucks that it has dex on it, but I can't get anything better because I need that ring. Anyways, I use Augilds because, you can see, reduces damage from elites and increases damage from elites. So as much as your sheet doesn't say that you're doing extra damage, you're doing 15% extra damage to elites, which is huge. And that's the same with all the fire stuff. The fire stuff stacks, the Firebat's damage stacks. So realistically, my Firebats have to be doing somewhere like 1.2 or 1.3 million, but there's no way to tell. I complement the Augild's shoulders with Augild's rule, and It works out pretty good. I don't have a problem with it yet. I could probably put 3 sockets in there, but I'm lazy. I got more fire damage with my Mage Fist. Those are decent Mage Fists with a little attack speed on it. I got Zunimas's Ring, which was the first piece I found and what I decided to make this video with, because it's hard to choose which class you're going to dump a bunch of time into, but this made it pretty easy. Hellcat's Waistguard, just best I could find. It's probably a piece that I could find an upgrade for, but it's got a little attack speed on it, which is great. The Ring of Royal. And Nemesis Bracers, I like walking around with them just because it makes things easier, because it spawns that extra champion when you get to a shrine. But, once again, got fire damage on it. So, with a little bit of crit, I mean, I'm not going to find too many things better than that. This is probably my worst piece. I just decided to make the video now because the build was where I wanted it to be. But, you know, not everything's going to be perfect. I don't use Poison Dart ever, but it has 100 resistance on there. It's not absolutely terrible. This guy right here was something that I really was happy to find, because when you saw me doing my Firebats and it was popping out those little tiny guys, that's actually not the full size of the fetishes. These are the full size fetishes. So that weapon is also spawning tiny little fetishes, so there's just so many fetishes, it's ridiculous. As you can see right here, I got all these guys are following me around at all times, plus I'm spawning little things, then there's little things spawning, it's just so many fetishes, it's awesome. But, moving on, regular boots, got a little Firebat damage on them, and finally my mojo is the final Zunimas's piece I have, which complements everything by having Firebat's damage. Now this class, the pros, you're going to have a whole bunch of guys surrounding you at all times. You're not going to have to do a whole lot. Most of the time you can hide around a corner as long as you got these guys going in, and you can take out everything with all of your little guys and not even have to do anything. The downside is, I mean, unless you start working on your toughness, which is what I've seen witch doctors that are further along than I am right now, you're going to end up in a situation where you're kind of like a wizard. You're a little more tough than a wizard, but at the same time, you're really counting on these guys. When you die, if you don't have your 3 cooldowns, you're going to end up in a situation where you're running around pretty useless for a little bit, because fire batting does right around 2 to 3, 4 million in that area pretty consistently, but it's not enough to keep you surviving the bigger encounters with your elite packs. So cooldowns can be an issue at some point, but like I said, you can tweak this build, you can do whatever you want to it. It's got a lot of moving pieces, but I wanted to go for as many fetishes as I could. And as with the Demon Hunter, which I will be putting out real soon, I'll show you some live action of what these guys can do in the different Torment levels that I feel comfortable with. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Thanks to all the Twitter people who have been coming out and supporting. That's awesome stuff. And if you do like the videos, subscribe and, you know, hit that like button, because it makes me want to make more videos. So I appreciate everybody, and thanks again for watching.